Can't nobody tell you about yourself. Contrary to a lot of teachings and the way people are flowing, we tend to want to go outside ourselves to find ourselves. I understand being raised in an educational system that is designed to tell you that it knows everything that you need. I'm just saying that it's common to think that way, but I'm here to just share with you the ways in which I found people who share things that help me remember certain things. Now, what's the use of remembering certain things if you don't trust it? What do I mean by that? Oftentimes, I will discover that people will have some intuitive. Oh my gosh, today. They will have this intuitive knowing about something, but then will question it because we've been trained that authorities outside of ourselves, our customs, our systems, everything is geared to tell us that authority is external. So if you have a thought or knowing or a feeling, you will run it through filters and you will talk to other people to test it to see, is what you thought was real? Is this the truth? So here, I'm going to talk to you about how I learned how to trust that insight. And I get it. I get it. I was the student who wanted to get an award for 100% attendance. I was diligent. And while I questioned things and I sometimes did things my own way, I definitely went along inside of the norm as much as I could buck it. Fast forward at a later age and understanding, I stopped doing it. Okay, let me get right into this. So, I mentioned before that this book, I don't know if it's that this book, Spiritual Laws, what I started to do is prayer is talking to source out loud. Prayer is a conversation. Prayer is not begging. Prayer is not wishing. Prayer is how you, as this soul in this physical body, talks to source, talks to the unseen, talks to that which is spiritual, because uh, e- everything has a vibration. And so, in the talking, and by the way, I discovered this at a most crucial time of my life, the most uncomfortable, challenging moments of life is like the best time to learn these things because we're in a press. And when we're uncomfortable, we will do something. This is the nature of human at this particular point, unless we evolve from it. We're not going to do shit unless there's some pain and we want to solve it, right? If things are okay, maybe not super great, you know what I mean? You have your threshold. So, at the most uncomfortable, painful, challenging point of my life is when I started to trust and listen. And that time was when my mother was dying and I was her medical health proxy. And she left me to make decisions and choices for her. And she was cognitive, and I talked with her. She had a do not resuscitate, or she had I forgot the two things. There's two of them that you should know. It's like don't resuscitate and um, I can't remember right now, but uh, it was the most challenging time of my life. But it was also the time of my life that I turned a corner on knowing myself as the rock for people if I choose to, right? Because people recognize my skills, my energy, and it's my choice to allow people into that circle. Now, what's different as a copper melanated woman in these United States of America, my people are Aboriginal too. My DNA wraps the world. Okay. In these circumstances, being in that identification, I got trained that I am supposed to be for everyone and give over my energy. Now, of course, it doesn't say it like that. Okay. If you know, you know. If you're here, you know what I'm talking about. I do not have to go into detail to explain this. I just wanted to say that those boundaries were crucial. And so my mother was dying. I had to give her boundaries as well. And it was during this process of, like I said, being with my mother, basically midwifing her to the other side. There's so many different forms of midwifery, but a few things that I did. One was, I was like, Mommy, is there anything left unsaid? Is there anything that you need to say to your children before you go? And I had my last conversations with her. Now I've done prior to that, I spent a lot of hours and invested my money in working a lot of things out. And there was pretty much no stone unturned, but I had one or two left. And I did have a chance to have that conversation with her about things and choices that were made as I was being raised and growing up, right? And hurts and stuff like that that I got a chance to put to rest. And I asked her so she can do the same. Because let me tell you something. I'm the ambassador of both my bloodlines, meaning I am here. And if you are listening to me, I know that you are also in this category. You're here to shift your bloodline. And it's not like be damn those people, right? These people, our people with the same DNA have undergone certain circumstances that was pressing, that was hard. And when you don't have a context that you are the diamond, that you are the gem, that you are that crystalline experience, you can definitely live in the trauma zone. Because let me tell you something, hell is on earth and so is heaven. Don't get that twisted. And those who want to make hell on earth, and especially make hell on earth for certain people, it's easy to live in and be impacted by the trauma culture. Think of Pixar's film Monsters Inc. They got energy out of the scares. Boo! I'm frightened. And then they found out that you can get more energy and clean energy out of joy. Now, the people who are usurping energy, the fearful one, that energy is worth it. Okay, I'm going off on a sideline. So, getting back to this experience, first off, even with boundaries, I had to place that with my mother. So, the first thing I asked her was, is there anything that you need to say to your children? Anything you need to say to anyone else? Why did I do that? Because oftentimes when people pass and there's shit that's incomplete, there's arguments in motion. If that doesn't get cleared, people ruminate about that because they can't speak or they feel like they can't speak to the dead or it's different. It's different when you and I are in flesh and you can say something and the person gives you back. Well, not always, because we know that there are people who have left our lives, or you left, or we've left their lives, or ghosted, and you have no idea. This is no different than someone who's crossed over. So what people often do because they don't know how to grieve in Western culture, Okay, that was the first thing. She had a rocky situation with one of my siblings. I reached out to that sibling, made arrangements so that this sibling could come and have whatever conversation to get a level of completion because my mom was crossing over. We didn't know when, but she was crossing over. Same thing with my dad. What was this? 8 years later, I contacted my siblings who, had whatever going on with him and was like, look, he's crossing over. Here's an opportunity. Do you want this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to see him before he crosses over? Do you want to see him in the casket? Like real talk. Okay. Because this is what messes people up. So I did that. And even with Karen, with godmother, I had boundaries. There were days that I was like, Mom, here's your days. I'm going to treat you like my clients. These are the days and hours. Of course, if you have an emergency, contact me outside of your hours. Number two, the biggest thing that I always ask is, what can you live with? What can you live with? Whatever decisions that you make, can you live with them? Whether the person's crossed over or whatever it is. So it's like, can you deal with the consequences? Instead of looking outside about like what should I do as a daughter and in this role and what will people say? Fuck what people say. Okay? You gotta live with your integrity and who you are and do nothing outside of your truth. Because when you step in and live inside your truth, can't nobody move you. And you're talking to someone who is rock solid. And I'm not saying that I have all of the answers. I'm not saying that I don't contemplate, but there is a substance about me because you wouldn't be listening to me anyway. Okay. Next, once I got those boundaries, because I had to also live life. Then after weighing out and all things considered with medical advice, I had the difficult decision to move her into hospice. My job was to advocate for what she wanted. And what she wanted was to leave on her terms, which meant do not push any medication into her system. Can you hear how challenging that time period was for me? But this was where I also learned how to listen and have a sense of guidance. So this is when I started talking, and this is when I also still believed in the God of the Bible. Okay. I don't believe in the God of the Bible. I know that there is a source. Let me bring it back. Well, I said to the God of the Bible, like I'm talking to Jesus, as a ascended master. That was my sense of prayer, was a straight up conversation. I'd be walking through the streets, whether it was taking care of something for my mother or taking care of other clients because I had to manage and work during this time as well. This is where prayer came straight up like, yo, and I would say stuff like, yo, listen, because that is how I speak. Yo, listen, this ain't cute. And sometimes I say, uncle, slang was here in America. Uncle would be like, I've had enough, like, stop. And I would go, yo, we need to pull this back. I get that the pressure makes, things precious, but lift the foot, pump the brakes, or get the foot off the gas. Let's coast a little. And these are the ways that I talk. And this same way I talk to source now, I talk to spirits and whatnot. That's what I mean about prayer. And I would say things like, if this light turns green, that means that I should move forward on this thing. I would use this as my way of yes, no. After doing this, something really pointed happened. I started asking to give me certain signs, like send me a person. I need something that's super crystal clear. Send me an email. So I would get emails, and you just have to pay attention and know that your prayers, you're speaking to your higher source, that communication is being answered. Okay. It's not like crescendo and boom. And sometimes it can be if it needs to get your attention, but you can actually say how you pay attention and how you need to get the message across. If you need a billboard, you need to say, I need a billboard. If you need something to disrupt, you need to say that. But you also want to be responsible for the disruption because you said you needed that. If you say that you need a tidal wave to get your attention, then you can't be like, well, why did this happen? Because you asked for it. Okay. Be mindful about how you pay attention and how you want to get messages. And again, sometimes I'd say, I need to send a person. Once I did all of those things, I wrote it down so that there was no deny. It didn't live in my head and it didn't dissipate. So once I wrote it down and I start to see the pattern and I start to trust these messages, and I knew if I saw a number, I would look it up. So there's something called angel numbers. If I saw a number, I would look it up. So now I see the birth dates of my loved ones who've crossed over. I'll see it on the elevator. I will see it during at on the clocks. I'll see it on license plates. These are ways that you can get messages. Why am I telling you this? Because I have gotten messages for other people whose loved ones have crossed over and they think that they cannot communicate, and it is not true. You simply need to talk out loud like a natural conversation, work it into your day. You're a spirit co-creating, and that is the fact. All right. I think I came on to talk about, well, this was what was on my mind. So, in a summary, during the most challenging times of our lives is when the greatest of lessons are being given. And it was during that kind of time of my life that I looked for guidance so that I could get my answers inward. And so, because I did that kind of work, I'm helping people remember I am simply the mirror to awaken your memory and to share stories that will jog your memory and also to remind you and show you ways of how to trust yourself, your inner authority, because can't nobody tell you about yourself. They can tell you how you act out here, but they can't tell you your inner truth. All right. If you watched this far, comment one thing that resonated or one thing that you already knew and you did. I love to hear from you. I do read my comments and, let me know if there's something else that you want me to talk about. Do you want me to talk a little bit more about um, the life death cycle? Because boy, oh boy, when my mother was dying, I did the thing that I know to do, which was educate myself, go learn stuff. Not that it helped me in one way, but it definitely does not move us away from the emotional aspect of it. So let me know if you want to know anything more about anything that I touched on. All right. You can read my description if there's any more information that you want to know about me. Until the next time, mwah, I look forward to speaking with you. See you there.